All right. Dylan Wheeler, big fans. We were going through Twitter, searched your name. You have a rabid fan base. I assume you know that because you're pretty active on Twitter, but you get some high praise. And I saw a comment recently where somebody said you're the best vocalist in Texas. And you said, whoa, whoa, whoa. But my wife texted me last week. She's upstairs in her office. I'm downstairs. She goes, do you know who Dylan Wheeler is? I love his voice. And I was like, whoa, this is great. Like, we're about to have this guy in the podcast. But do you pay attention to that? Do you kind of feel the buzz, or do you try to kind of stay humbled and kind of go, okay, cool? But
I wouldn't say, I really don't pay much mind to it because I know, like I said, I know tons of vocalists that are, outstanding that aren't getting quite the credit that they deserve and stuff. But I really use, honestly, man, Twitter to me is just like it's a tool, to help promote and stuff like that. I really don't try to dig too deep into any of that stuff, honestly. Yeah. Like I said, I would say no.
Well, they're singing your praises big time.
Yeah, I appreciate that for sure. Like I said, whatever helps get some folks to the show and get the song streamed. So,
yep.
Who, in your opinion, are some of the best vocalists in Texas?
Man, what is his? I wish I had written this down right before.
Or just some of your favorite singers or artists.
What name? He does the "I Will Always Love You" cover that went huge a few years back. Goodness gracious, I've met him and I've listened to his stuff, but he's insane.
I think is it Josh Weathers?
Josh Weathers, yeah, Josh Weathers. You're gonna be hard. It's gonna be very hard to find someone that can out-sing Josh Weathers, in my opinion. As like vocally, that dude, he's talented for sure. And there's tons of female artists that are as well. They're I would say I'm at the top of that list by any means.
Well, even at like the end of Tell Me I'm Wrong, on the acoustic one, you just let it rip. Like I was driving in today and listening to that again, and obviously you've heard it before, but then just like listening to it, getting ready for the podcast, it's like, God damn! Like I just the whole way I'm driving, just hit that on repeat.
But you have a voice, and I don't know if you've ever heard this comparison. Not in every song, but have you heard how do you pronounce it? Was Dermot Kennedy?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that? Like, there's some times where I hear some of that in you, and like in a good way, where it's like sometimes it's like I hear rock or I hear country or I hear like the Koe Wetzel vibe, and then I hear that, I'm like, you have a very unique, I know right away, I'm like, this is somebody different. So I think that's one of the biggest things. It's like the Nashville way. A lot of times with the dudes, everybody sounds the same. Everybody does the same thing, the same type of song. When you can kind of stand out on your own by just how you sound, your voice, I'm like, to me, that's just like automatically as a fan, I'm like, I gravitate towards that. So
I appreciate that. I've actually gotten compared to, or not compared, but they've said I've, sounded like him. I get Gavin DeGraw a lot as well. I get that one surprisingly a lot. Gary Allen, I've heard people say I kind of resemble him as well as far as, vocally. And, but no, I do appreciate that. I kind of pride myself on, although the first topic was not being like one of the better vocalists or anything like that, I do pride myself on trying to be as good vocally. That's just what because I'm not the greatest guitar player by any means, So I like to try to sing as well as I can, and I had this conversation with a gentleman the other day. I pulled from a lot of my influences are pretty broad, and I kind of pull from all those. So I guess that's why people say I sound like a wide variety of folks sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you
because I've seen some videos of singers before they go on stage and they put their faces in these like steam things and all this stuff. If you're really hungover and you're a good singer and you got to go up there and sing, does that affect it? So what's your hangover cure, one? And then two is like, do you got to prepare yourself physically for like, oh shit, I overdid it last night. Now I got to go sing my ass off. I'm going to pass out.
I haven't it's been a while since I've incident like that. But yeah, I've got this little machine. It's a little like what you're talking about, a little vapor machine
Steam, yeah.
that kind of steams a little bit. If I'm in a real bind, a little sore throat, I'll use something like that. But I don't have to do it very often anymore. I don't drink nearly like I used to, so I'm not.
Join the club.
I'm
Well, we all have kids, I think, around the same age. I saw you just had a baby recently.
Yes.
Mine's 1.5. Wes, yours is what?
3 months.
So the
Mine is
drinking changes.
Yeah.
How old?
15 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I almost notice it's like you leave the house a lot less, or for you, you're touring, but like you leave the house a lot less and there's no late nights partying at the bars or whatever. But the consistency of drinking once you have a kid is much more even. Like it's not just like, oh, back in the day it was like, I can't drink today. It's Wednesday. Like now it's like, fuck it. Every day you can have a little bit if you want, go in the garage, but it's never like the late nights, right? It's kind of nice.
It's like a more mellow type of, it's not the peaks and valleys that it was at one point.
You don't go in the kitchen before bath time and like line up with some like Casamigos shots and stuff.
You don't?
I take a shot for every diaper we change. That's what
that's my one thing is like, I'm not like, luckily we didn't have a lot of like, I don't think we ever had like a blowout. But just the diaper stuff. I'm like, I just took out the diaper bag. That's the worst. I hold my breath and tie it and run out, throw it in the garbage in the alley.
I will do anything to not have to change up.
I try to. I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Okay,
yeah.
I made a deal with my wife the other day where it was early in the morning and I was just like, I do not want to do the first one. So I was like, I'll do the rest of the day if you just get this first one. And I was regretting it by like 11:30 in the morning. But
first one after that, it's like, damn, why did I agree? I've got a whole day of this. Yeah.
I was like, once I was like, I'll cook dinner, I'll clean the dishes, I'll clean the toilets. Like I was like willing to do everything except I just don't want to do the diaper, man. I just like most guys, but has the baby influence, like whether it's songwriting or any form of your music, has having the child kind of change perspective on some things, I assume?
Yeah, definitely. It's not quite the like the party scene, not necessarily party scene, but I feel like we're starting to write music, that's more fitting, more mature than I'm very grateful for our song Broke Ass Kid and stuff, Bad Bitch, and what those did for us. And I still love the songs, love playing them live and everything, but I do, our music's taking a little bit of a change, turn. Like I said, just it's kind of growing up with us a little bit. I don't want to be 40 years old singing about getting drunk at a pasture park, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's helped me kind of make a gradual change into a more mature sound, I suppose.
Yeah, like everybody was on Luke Bryan for a long time. They're like, dude, you're in your 40s, you have kids. Why are you doing spring break albums? I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you saw that. But it's just like, I appreciate that because that's one of our things we always talk about, authenticity on this podcast, and it's sing it like guys that are open about like say like they don't drink, but then they sing songs about drinking. I'm like, this is weird. Like, yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my head as a music fan.
I had a conversation. I was playing golf. I live in a camper right now. I bought a travel trailer, and we moved into a little place over in Canton, and where I'm from, over in Texas and stuff. Well, I played golf. So my friends are like 70 years old. They're old retired folks, and I was playing golf with them a while back, and one of them asked me, he goes, "Hey, Dylan, I've been meaning to ask you, why do you cuss so much in your songs?" And I said, well, I cuss in my songs just like I will the golf when I on stage, like I sorry, on stage, just like I drink off here, because I've known people, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I know artists, they won't drink on stage, they won't cuss on the stage, but in the back, they're doing the most wild shit. They're the craziest ones of all, and that's just not something that I wanted to be. And I told him that I explained that to him, and he understood. And I said, if I'm sitting here, the worst thing I'm doing is saying a few cuss words and drinking on stage, and I guess we're doing all right.
We got a similarity there, because we'll get a Facebook DM every now and then from Debbie or Barbara. We have like 1.8 million followers on the Facebook page, so it's you got a mixed bag sometimes, and they'll be like, why do you guys need to curse so much on the podcast, or why do you guys need to curse so much in your articles? I go, we do things the way we talk. We never call ourselves journalists, right? Like it's not like nobody's claiming that they're a journalist. We built this thing in a different way, and it's like, I think that's what grows an organic fan base, is like when you're yourself and you tweet or you talk or you post on Instagram the way you would normally talk. That comes through. Maybe it's going to rub a few Barbaras the wrong way, but yeah. Barbara, this isn't for you. This isn't your mom's country site.
You judging? That's one thing as well. Like I have guys, they help me with my Facebook and stuff, and I told them they'll send posts to me, and I'll word the post. Like they'll make the post, and I'll just tell them what to put on it. That way, actually, Parker McCollum, I was at a Texas Music Picker seminar probably 3 or 4 years ago, and Parker was speaking, and he said the biggest thing helped him, or the biggest thing social media was being exactly who you are outside of exactly who you are on there, and do your own social media type stuff. And that's one thing. Ever since then, I kind of stuck with me. Hey, I need to be the one I need to be the voice of this. I don't need someone, just a robot posting Dylan Wheeler has a show here and there, and that's not fun.
No.
I think it's fun to connect with the fans, and
you're doing it right.
Right. And speaking of connecting with fans, you're doing a Christmas show, Billy Bob's Texas. What kind of, is that something that you expect like a lot of people to come out for, in the sense of like, because I would love to go to a Christmas show. They don't have them around here, like, but it's cool how I think Texas is a place where it's like, yeah, we'll have Christmas morning with our families.
Bring the grandma, bring everybody.
Yeah, we'll like bring everybody
dinner.
Out, like that sounds absolutely awesome to me.
It does sound awesome.
But there's just nowhere to do that here in Illinois where I live.
I'm from small town East Texas, and out there, I was whenever I got the offer, I was like, man, at first I was like, no, I don't think so, just because I was unaware what holidays were like inside of the city. I've never spent Christmas in Dallas. I've never, like that. So like I said, at first I was like, no. And then my agent started saying, well, last year they did this. And, they showed me the shows that they had played, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, what of the year before. And I was like, if they did it, then surely it's a good idea. I think I'll surprise myself in the band with how many people are going to be there. Like I said, we're still tiny guys on the scene. I mean, we're at the bottom of the totem pole right now, so we're not expecting to go in there and sell it out. But if we do a decent amount of tickets for us, we'll be happy. And I think we're gonna be able to do that.
It's just funny when you talk about like selling tickets and stuff. Wes and I always joke about like some of these major label artists in Nashville, how they couldn't sell out in
a Potbelly's back.
A Potbelly's, yeah. And it's I know you can sell more tickets than people that are like more famous, but when I look at your streams and I compare it to them and you're beating them, I just get joy in that. You and others, like there's a lot of that. We Zach Bryan, you compare him to a lot of other like big names, you're like, Jesus Christ, like this is pretty damn awesome. And I think it's just like a really, really good thing for country music right now. And people like you got a big buzz, because we pride ourselves on having that like finger on the pulse and all that stuff, and put you in a bunch of recent lists and you'll be on more. But it's like people react to your performances and your music, especially your acoustic stuff. So it's like when you get that type of fandom, you can't buy it, you know, in my opinion. So, and Billy Bob's, that's one place Wes and I like, we gotta make it out to there at some point. Have you ever been there?
I've never even been to the venue,
okay.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm from Texas and never. We had a pretty good venue right down the road from us, Silver Saloon, and that's. I mean, I've been sneaking into that place since I was 14 years old. Have men all from. That's an hour and a half drive for me. If I could.
How does that work? Sneaking in.
Well, you at the time you could, if you were, I think 15 years old, you could get in with a parent. So you pay someone in line to parent. You know someone that's already in. They sneak you a wristband somehow in the line or through the back door, and that was the biggest venue that I'd ever. The first big venue I ever played. Played my first full band show there. It's a pretty good sized room. I think they're 2,500 caps. So it's a good sized place. Definitely one of the bigger, you know, indoor bars and in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Behind. I was so used to getting in trouble in there, and you know that the manager came up and he just got done breaking up a fight. He literally walking a dude out the door, and he touched me on, said, "Hey, don't." So immediately, as soon as he turns his back, I take off running through a crowd, and I'm gone. I'm dipping. And I didn't find out till a month later. They were trying to book me to play the venue, and they were trying to have me come play my debut there. And I'm running from the manager because I think I'm getting kicked out for almost getting in a fight or whatever. Yeah, so we laugh about that still to this day. The owner and I will chuckle about it because they were trying to get me in there and I was avoiding them at all costs. I had no idea.
Who were some of the first artists you remember seeing there when you were like sneaking in?
I used to go watch John Stony LaRue. I loved back in high school. Those were the guys, you know, for us. And I was in there every Friday watching somebody. And then later on, right before I started pursuing music, it's when Koe was really starting to kind of pop off. Noise Complaint had just released. I was still in the oil and gas industry whenever he released Noise Complaint, and it was like a few months later he played a show up there, and I watched him. That was the first, I think, sold out, like really sold out show that I had ever seen there. And that was crazy. And like I said, that's about the time that I started really pursuing music and stuff. But yeah, those old cats, guys, that was my main ride back. I'd sneak in to see those guys all the time. Either that or we traveled. I mean, I would go to Tyler and watch guys out there, rodeos. I'd go watch them anywhere. But
that's awesome. And we've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast, but one of the drunkest we've ever gotten with anybody ever, probably in ever anywhere, not even just artists, was with Koe Wetzel. That guy, as we've talked about on the podcast, but he's the sweetest guy, and it's so real. It's so him. Do you have any like Koe Wetzel stories where you're drinking with him and it's just like the world starts spinning?
Absolutely, yeah. Just got to open for him the first time, probably a few months back. We opened for him at Floors down in Helotes. It was a last minute thing. Cody West had to pull off of the show. Someone in his camp, I think, had COVID or something, so I had to pull off. And we're on our way. I don't remember. I think we were heading to San Angelo, and I wake up to a call and or an email, text, and it says, "Hey, do you want to open for Koe tonight?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I want to, but I've already committed to. I've got a show over here." And I laid back down, And I was like, damn, that would suck. I mean, that would be badass. So I can't do it. And then I get another call like 2 minutes later from my agent. And he's like, hey, we're pulling that show tonight. You're going to open for Koe. And I was like, hell yeah, I didn't think that was an option. I thought that, I didn't know that's how it worked really. And
you're like, respect. You like wanted to play for the one, yeah.
or try to do both, maybe.
We immediately, I hollered up to the front. I was like, hey, set the GPS for
turn this bus
floors.
around.
Yeah, yes, for floors. We'll figure the rest out when we get there. And we did, man. We hauled ass down there, and we played a show. And for them, that was also our biggest crowd at the time. Both of my biggest crowds are opening for Koe, but that I've got to play in front of it. So we played that show, and I were chilling over on our little bus, and my drummer was on Koe's bus, and I didn't know that. And he calls me, says, "Hey, come here. Koe's asking where you're at." And I was like, "All right," because I know Koe, like we've hunted and stuff, but I just wasn't gonna barge on his bus. That's just not what you do. Y'all know that. Mm-hmm. And so I go over there, and man, there were probably 5 or 6 bottles of whiskey. Someone had brought like a brand. I don't remember what brand whiskeys they were, but someone had brought like a bunch of different, bourbons and all that. And then we were all sitting on the bus, probably 10 of us, 5 or 6 bottles of whiskey in rotation, just like a blunt, just going around. And next thing I know, I'm sitting over there, and me and Koe are across the table from each other, and he's handing me this, we had Jack Daniels at this time by the end of the night, hands back to me. And finally I look at him, I said, "Hey man, I've got to throw up." And he said, he looks at me and goes, "All right, go outside. I'm gonna come with you." And he did. Sure enough, we go outside, and they have to put rails around their bus because fans are crazy about him,
Yeah.
And I'll just grab one. I was laid over that thing for about 3 minutes, letting it all out. He's sitting there laughing, and I turn around and I said, "Hey man, are you mad at me?" And he goes,
"Are you mad
he's
at
like,
me?"
"Yeah, because I got sick, I was just being funny." But he goes, "Hell no, I love you, and I'm still gonna share this cigarette."
Oh, that's great.
That for sure, no way. But yeah, that was a rough one. That hangover was something serious.
Something serious.
It's almost like an initiation with Koe. Like I don't know if it's like the first time you go on the road with him, or the first time you open a show for him, or the first time you meet the guy,
or you do a podcast with him.
You do a podcast with him.
We didn't. It might be the last time I had blacked out. Like I didn't physically see him go on stage. I was gone by that point, and I woke up the next morning, Saturday, in my house or in my apartment at that time in Chicago, and I was like, I don't even know. Like, fuck, I was having such a good time. What happened? It's hard, man. But I love the "Are you mad at me" thing. I had a buddy who used to always say that, like when he would get too drunk, I would get every morning. I would wake up and there would be a text that said, "Are you mad at me?" And I go, "No, for what?" He goes, "Oh, thank God." Like if you overdo it, man, it's just like, shit. What did I say?
Yeah, you start overthinking like that. You don't know what all has been going on, and yeah, that's an odd feeling. You just need some reassurance there. Make sure you were all right.
Absolutely. You're real quick. You mentioned Gavin DeGraw earlier. You did a cover that a lot of people like. When it comes to covers, I had this idea, and I told Wes before he come out, like, maybe I'll tweet at you at some point soon here with Whiskey Riff and be like, Dylan Wheeler should cover insert whatever, and then let the fans kind of pick, and then you should do one, because you could do a lot of different cool stuff. Like, do you like 90s country? Do you think you could pull some of that shit off? I think you could.
I could.
But you don't want to?
No, I definitely will. We would have to put our own spin on it, because I don't have quite the I'd be down for sure.
I think that'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, I saw you tweet also that Matchbox 20 is good, or gets the mind right. Like, I feel like I totally know what you're saying right there. I just like
Yeah.
felt that. I'm like, oh, I
It's
get
3
that.
a.m. shit, right? That's them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's them. I was I was dead tired. I forgot that last night I had agreed to pick my buddy up from the airport in Fort Worth
Yeah.
at midnight. And so it was like
Good
9 o'clock.
friend.
Yeah, it was like 9 o'clock at night. I'm sitting there talking to my girlfriend, and I'm like, check Snapchat, and I see him in the airport like a few hours prior. And I was like, oh shit, I completely forgot. So when I'd also agreed to duck hunt with one of my old high school buddies this morning. So drive to the airport, get home at like 2:30, but and then went duck hunting at 4:30, or got up to go duck hunting at 4:30. But yeah, I was on my way up there, and I was jamming Matchbox 20 the whole way, just vibe.
Who are some of those other get your mind right type of artists that you can just put on and vibe to and pick you up?
Do you remember Eagle Eye Cherry Save Tonight? That's a weird song that kind of fits in that. Do you remember that song?
Yeah, I believe so.
You know, it's like one of those era songs, you know, it's
Yeah.
like the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, and right around when Matchbox was doing it. But yeah, man. Sorry, go ahead. I don't know why that made me think of that.
I'm weird. Sometimes I like I don't know, the get your mind right kind of songs for me are still sometimes like the more sad songs. Just as far as driving and by yourself, man, Matchbox is always good, but I like a little more of the rock side of things as well. So I would listen to like Pearl Jam and any Chris Cornell back in the day, Stain, stuff like that. That's the music that kind of brings it home, that kind of gets me back, or feeling like I should, I suppose.
Some of those high school locker room tunes when you're like,
Yeah.
or weight room tunes, when you're like working out.
Yeah. Just the stuff I grew up on, it just kind of brings a little peace to you or something.
I got last night I was cooking a big dinner for the wife and baby and everything, and I got the Dean Martin going, which I didn't really I'm not a big Christmas music guy, but for whatever reason, and sometimes I go to this Rat Pack situation, and I'm like, this is good, man. Just hearing that stuff, it like puts me in that holiday mood, and I'm like, you know what, I feel happy like listening to this. But I couldn't listen to every mainstream country art. I don't know if you know this, like everybody releases a country album and it all sucks for the most part. It's just like this artist that isn't very good is releasing Christmas songs that have been sung by Frank Sinatra. Why would I want to listen to that?
Yeah. Right.
So when I get to go back and listen to the old school stuff, I'm like, man, it's nice. Like it kind of gets you in that mindset. You want to smoke a joint, drink a little whiskey. I was drinking cognac last night. I haven't had it in a million years because I was making a sauce with it. That's where I'm at in my life.
You're getting sauce while making your sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best. That's the best way to do it.
You mentioned duck hunting though. You were with Parker recently. Oh, real quick. The second photo you posted with the dog, was that your dog or somebody else's dog?
That's my friend's co-worker's dog.
Oh, I was gonna say we want to share that picture on Riff Outdoors. We have like another brand extension called Riff Outdoors. I'll tag you and tag everybody, but that's a great pic. The dog just looks like worn out, but beautiful dog. And then but you were with Parker, right? And who's better?
I wasn't with him. The reason I did that, he had just posted, I was getting ready to post the picture of our ducks, and he had just posted, and he had all these pretty birds and like all those mallards and stuff. And
I just got a stocking stuffer for my kid because he loves that duck hunting noise. If I just take like a bottle or do some, so I bought him like a little, duck call, put it in his thing, and hope he plays with it. If not, I'll take it.
My last night I was actually rigging up some decoys to take out with us this morning, and my son, he's just recently started walking like a couple months ago, and I'm over here trying to get all these decoys ready, and all of a sudden I'm turning around and I'm missing him. He's taking them. He's coming over and grabbing them from behind me and taking them and hiding them and stuff, just putting them all over the. It's cool though. I'm excited for him to be old enough to go out with us and be really cool.
Yeah.
Is duck hunting your main? Are you more of a duck hunter, more of a deer hunter? Kind of how are you?
Definitely more deer. I just started this last. Had some buddies get me into it. I went to play a show. I'd gone on one guided hunt up in Arkansas, but that wasn't like real duck hunting. It was I was sitting in a floating blind I wasn't even in waders. I was in blue jeans and my muck boots. Didn't even have to have the muck boots. And it's like 20 something degrees outside, but I'm in there in, a light little jacket. They've got a heater running. They've got a stove in there. They've got someone calling the ducks for us, spotting us. We literally pointed our guns out the window and just shot. I mean, it was like barrel type of situation, but I went to play a show down in Zephyr, Texas. And the owner, he said, yeah, my son duck hunts. If y'all were going to be here longer, I would have told him to take y'all duck hunting. I was like, well, shit, we're off tomorrow. Let's go in the morning. And sure enough, I borrowed the owner of the venue's camo, and we borrowed a shotgun and half my band that wanted to go. We ended up staying the night, getting up the next morning and just duck hunting all day with the owner of the venue's family. Had so much fun. We instead of buying another hotel room, the owner said, hey, I've got extra rooms at the house. Y'all come stay. So we stayed another night, got up, duck hunted again the next morning, and then all loaded up and drove to the next show. So that's kind of what got me really started in it. And ever since then, man, it's fun. But yeah, I duck hunt. I mean, I deer hunt more. I haven't got to this year because I've been busy, but I'm pretty involved with On Tour Outdoors.
We know those guys.
Yeah, my buddy Jake, he started that a while back, and we hit it off from we started, I started tagging along with him on all that stuff, and that's been pretty fun. So I've got to do a lot of things with that I probably wouldn't have got to do, at least not this quickly, as far as like hunts and stuff like that. I've been fortunate to be able to hang out with and do stuff with them.
After we're done here, we gotta send you some we got our duck hunting Riff hat from Mossy Oak.
That's dope.
This is another Mossy Oak tee. We gotta send you some stuff, man. We'll make sure to get your address and shit.
Absolutely.
Are you more of a bow hunter or rifle hunter?
I used to be a rifle, but Jake actually, whenever I started kind of dealing with OTO, he told me I had to get a bow, so I went bought a bow. Ever since then, man, once you shoot something with a bow, you
feel
never,
like Rambo.
Yeah,
you never
want to pick up a gun again. Like when you shoot your first deer, you get this crazy adrenaline rush, and then over time, you start to lose that with a gun. And I don't know if you do with a bow. I haven't shot enough animals with it, but when you do shoot something with a bow, it's like that first moment, like being a kid shooting your first deer all over again. And I was 25 years old when it happened. Or I'm sorry, I was 26. I just turned 27. So I was 26 years old, I think. And I was up there shaking in the tree stand, just like I was at 8 years old when I shot my first deer.
I think if you ask Cam Haynes, he would say you never lose the adrenaline rush. If you follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, Jake talks about him quite a bit. That dude's a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In more ways than one, yeah.
Is the you looking to do any type of like elk hunts or anything like that and get into more like big game type stuff?
Take some edibles, come to Colorado. We just wander around.
I actually just did a elk hunt in Colorado this past season.
Oh wow.
And I'm telling you right now, I was not prepared for that at all. I mean,
physically?
Physically, not even the slightest bit. We got up there and I jumped in the back of my truck to grab a cooler out, and I got lightheaded. We had just pulled. Man, something's not right, and I got altitude sickness. The first night I was.
Fuck yeah.
Jake woke up to me. I had to get outside of the tent. It's like 30 degrees outside, and I run outside my underwear, and I'm just throwing up like crazy. He thought and I didn't know what was going on because I'd never had altitude sickness, like, anything like that. So he thought we were about to have to call a helicopter to get me off the side of his. It was a.
I'm laughing, but
yeah, no, we're in the middle of we're doing a public land bow hunt, and that was the first. I mean, that's first thing I ever did was that, as far as big
Right.
out, and just to get to the spot where we were, I want to say in a truck. It took us from pavement. It took us 2.5 hours of driving to get to where we were camped. And if something were to happen to you up there, you're in a bind, a real bind. So he was freaking out a little bit. He's like, "Shit, we're about to have to get a helicopter out here to get me out of here." Because it was pretty freaky, man. But after that, woke up the next day, drank me some water, chilled out,
Leveled
ate,
off.
yeah, and dude, it was fine after that. By the third day out there, I was getting around a little better, not anything like I can here. Down here, Jake and I shot my first turkey this last year, and we walked 22 miles in 2 days. We walked 22 miles. We tracked it on our phones, trying to get this bird. Finally, we were literally walking out of the place we had to leave, and I shot the bird as we were walking to the truck. and so he and I were talking about that up there in Colorado. We're like, man, back home we can do this, but I mean, it was embarrassing. I've never felt more
Humbles you.
Yeah, very. If I rolled my ankle or anything like that, we're done. I mean, I couldn't walk 20 feet. If someone else had been injured, I would have been an absolute liability. I could not have carried somebody's bow off this mountain. I'd walk 20 feet downhill and I was out of breath.
Yeah. Were you, how do you know how high you were?
I think at our peak highest we were around 12,000 feet.
Oh shit. Yeah.
That's
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Like where I sit right now, I think in our area is like 5,900 to 6,000.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to remember, we went on a really big hike in Estes Park, which has a ton of elk. And like you go to somebody's backyard and there's just like literally 50 of them just like sitting there like dogs, like just hanging out.
Yeah, that's
we went all the way up, and I forgot what it was, but I was pretty winded and of course I got this like chest infection that was already starting, and I was like, something feels weird, and I was like, maybe it's just because I'm going up, and then next thing I know, I was sick as hell for 7 days after that. But yeah, that's something I feel like a lot of people that come out here like forget about. Also, you get drunker quicker for people that aren't used to it, right? Yeah. So there's like all these weird, you get dehydrated quicker, it's drier, it's sunnier, like there's a lot of things you're not prepared for. There was an NFL player, I think I brought this up before. Was it Ryan Clark for the Steelers? Yeah. He had like a blood condition, and he couldn't even, when he was playing, when they would play in Denver, he couldn't even come here, like because of his like white blood cells or something, like wow. Just with the altitude, like he couldn't play, like he could die from his blood condition. So I think that was who it was.
Yeah, I think you're right. You can buy those cans of like air too. Like I've been to a few different like resorts and stuff in Colorado, like snowboarding, and just like huffing oxygen like as I'm walking up a hill. And then
where I'm from, they're huffing air freshener.
Same. I stopped at a camping store on the way up there, and I was like, man, that's weird. Why would anybody need? I just didn't understand it. And then within, like I said, 30 minutes of being up there, because we camped, I think we were camped at like 10,000 feet or 9,500 feet, something like, yeah, just on the side of a mountain in a tent. But I saw the air, and I was like, that's odd, like people don't do stuff like that. You don't have those issues here. So if you've never been up there and experienced that, you don't know about it. And I would have given every dollar I had for a can of air at 2:00 in the morning on the side.
Man,
yeah. It's hard to sleep too. That's like the hard thing. You can't just like, oh, maybe I'll sleep it off, like because you can't sleep because you're like feel like you can't
wheezing
breathe
and stuff.
Yeah. I was like, I couldn't get a breath. I was doing that whole little like double breath thing, and that would wake me up in the middle of my sleep. And I was sitting there, and even I started panicking at that point. I'm like, because that's a really weird feeling.
Yeah.
Take the biggest breath you possibly can, and you're not getting what you need there, and that was odd. And especially waking up to that. You're like,
The
am I-
driving will freak you out too. Like when we went somewhere, it wasn't even that far, but like you'll see like they're like, watch out for the falling rocks, and you're like on this 2-lane road, and you look to the left, and the drop off is like, holy shit, and you're on the right lane, thank God. But then you're closer to the stuff falling, so you're just like, and you're trying to be cool, like you're driving, you could. My wife is just like white knuckling, like, and I'm trying to play it cool. I'm like blasting music, got the windows open, but part of me too is like, oh fuck,
Right.
because I get weird too. Like I'm like, I'd much rather be driven by somebody I trust versus me having to do the driving in that situation. I'm like, I want to just chill, enjoy the view, and like enjoy it. And then you're just like, oh, you got a dog in the car. Oh, you got the baby in the car. And then you get real freaked out, you know, but it's like, but then you look around, like here comes some guy flying by you in a BMW. You're like, they filming a commercial? Like, you know, you watch the BMW commercials, they're like driving through the mountains. You're like, that's not how it goes.
Close course.
Yeah, it's like 14 miles an hour around the bend. Like
they speed it up. I went to Utah, and me and my wife rented like a side-by-side to like rip up the mountain. But I was kind of like, oh, we're gonna, you know, ride around the valley, we're gonna kind of stay on the ground. And they're like, no, you're gonna take it up this path that's not much wider than the side-by-side all the way up the cliff. And I was just like, this is not what I signed up for. You didn't check my driver's license. Why am I doing this?
They just let anybody, like,
yeah, they're like, oh yeah, you can take this. Here's the keys. Have fun.
I had
crash.
I had to parallel park to get my license, not drive up a damn mountain. I'm not prepared.
Exactly.
Like,
real quick, I think I read something, I don't know if it's true. Are you planning to release any more music soon? Or are you guys doing the new stuff now?
We just recorded. We have 16 songs currently. I actually tweeted about 18 songs, but we went up to the studio the day after I tweeted that and ended up only doing 6 additional songs on top of the 10 we had. So I've got 16 songs right now, ready to, 10 of which are ready to release any day. The rest are probably a few weeks out. I don't have a set date in mind, goal, and there's a few people on Twitter that are holding me accountable, trying to anyways. Here I said I was going to put 21 songs out in 2021. Well, I recorded 21 songs, but I haven't got them all out. But I would say no later than March or April, we'll have at least probably 16 to 20, probably more songs out.
thinking full album then?
Yeah, like
more than likely like a double album type.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Do you have a title in mind?
I don't. I've actually got someone working on the artwork right now, and they keep asking me, "Hey, what's the title?" And I'm like,
Well, that actually leads into a thing I had on my notes here. Is like, in a good way, like I said, you're like hard to pinpoint. Like, yeah, I consider you country and Texas and rock and this and that, but you see these tweets every now and then too with like Koe Wetzel's music. It's like the emo like word, it comes back again from when we were younger. Like some of your songs are really like kind of like deep and like emotional. Like I hate the word emo, but like I don't know if that like bothers you or not, but yeah, I mean that comes from like a grittiness and like a kind of like a deep within kind of place. But is it a lot of that still, or is it kind of like a mix? Like you got some like foot stompers in there, and
no, it's definitely it's the heaviest stuff I've ever done.
Oh damn, okay.
It's gonna be, well, I say that there's some more.
So no boot scoot and boogie in there. There's
not on this. But that's something I told my producer about a while back. You know, I was like, I don't want to be just one lane. I want to do whatever. Because I listen, like we talked about earlier, I listen to everything. So, I mean, I'm not really trying to get my songs necessarily put on country radio or whatever, you know, it may be. So I'm not too concerned with at this time any of that stuff. I'm just writing songs that I like and putting them out, you know, as we go. And if this month we're feeling like more rock stuff, then we'll do that. I grew up on the grungy, like we talked about earlier, that my kind of the stuff that I go back to, I grew up on that, like the more grunge into the early 2000s rock, like you're talking about. And so it's not surprising that that's kind of how music would turn. But then again, also a huge Gary Stewart fan, older country and stuff like that. If I want to write a song about getting drunk on a bar stool one day, I might do that. And that's just kind of where we're at.
Do you like Whiskey Myers? Because I feel like they do a good job of kind of skirting that line. You'll get like a really deep, fucking emotional song, and then you get this like boom, like this like part anthem you want to just like drink to. You fan of them?
I am.
Yeah.
And I should have mentioned earlier that I used to go around and watch.
Oh, cool.
When I first started really hearing about them, and I started going to their concerts and stuff. I went and watched them a few different spots, but man, they put on a show, and
man,
yeah, their live show is insane. But yeah, I really like their stuff. I like they're kind of like a almost like a modern Skinner a little bit, kind of feel, and I really vibe with that. And they're from like 45-50 minutes from where
I was gonna say, I think they're from nearby.
Yeah, they're in the Palace area. That's where they I don't know, I can't remember who all, if the whole band lived there, but I know some of them are from that area and stuff. And like I said, I'm from Edgewood, which is probably maybe an hour and 15 minutes north of there.
Yeah, I saw Gio from Giovanni and the Hired Guns tweet about like the Texas country scene, and like so many, like how so many rockers kind of get lumped into that almost. And it's kind of cool. I almost kind of like how there's like, because it really is a scene. It's not necessarily like a sound. I don't think you can take like the Texas music and say like, oh, it's a sound, but it's a scene in the sense that there's guys like you and Gio and Koe and Whiskey Myers and Cody, who kind of Austin Meade, kind of bring a lot of that rock and roll flavor to the music. And then you have guys like, Randy Rogers, Josh Abbott, Randall King, bringing like straight up honky tonk country stuff. But like they all kind of fit in the same like umbrella of Texas music, Texas country, and it's just kind of a cool differentiation where there's not necessarily a sound that defines that. There's no borders on it. It's just we're all part of this thing together.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't like the term, Texas country, say like necessarily. It's just like Texas music, man. That's kind of what I feel like you said everybody's doing. I think one thing about everybody down here is people really aren't afraid to, even some of the more country guys, they just say whatever they want to say, and I like we talked about earlier, being real. Don't get me wrong, there are guys that aren't, but the majority of people down
names
there,
just kidding. I said names.
I'm not
no, I'm just kidding.
They're folks that put on a front, whatever they want to do, that's them. But for the most part, man, down here, it's just everybody says what they want to say and play the music they want to play. And, they don't have anybody telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing. And like y'all said earlier, people recognize that. And I think that's why Texas is doing so good.
Yep.
As a whole. Not just, I won't just say Texas, because there are guys from Oklahoma that are doing great as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's not Texas itself, but like this southern area here, I would say.
Last two questions, random. Are you a football fan? Do you have a team? Who's your team?
Cowboys.
Okay. How about this Urban Meyer stuff? It's pretty funny, right?
Yeah. I didn't it because I saw what was going on and everything, but I just been not, like I said, I just kind of I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to it.
When they fired him last night when we were all sleeping, I woke up after smoking weed, and I slacked one of our writers like Urban. That's all I said.
I was duck hunting all morning, and then I literally hooked up to my trailer and drove up here, so I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they and the stories are just so funny. He kicked the kicker in warmups. Oh man, just amazing. Funny. Dallas won me some money this year gambling, so I'm hoping they can keep doing that. And they're I don't know. Playoff comes, they got to go to Green Bay or something. We'll see, but it's gonna be tough. But and then the last thing, Wes, I think you mentioned this, the Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. McConaughey not running for governor, might do it someday. Would you vote for McConaughey? Are you
because he says he's very in the middle, which I think is nice for somebody to say.
Yeah, I think that's most of us are in the middle, you know. Obviously you have if he's kind of riding the libertarian line there, then I'm sure he would do just fine down here. Because I want to smoke weed, but I want to shoot my guns. So
right.
I saw that video that went viral again. It's him in New Orleans. I don't know if I said this again recently, was
no, I don't think so.
Him and Brad Pitt
throwing the football.
They're just like they're in these two rentals, like
Airbnbs on Bourbon Street
in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, and Brad Pitt comes out. You're like, what the fuck's going on here? Right. He goes, hey, you need a beer, and Brad Pitt throws him a beer across the thing. And he catches it, and he throws the football across. I'm like, it's just McConaughey and Brad Pitt kind of throwing the ball around and throwing the beers around. I'm like, is this real? Like, this is what it means to be McConaughey. You just get a Airbnb in New Orleans. Next thing you know, Brad Pitt comes out of the alley and he goes, hey, you want a beer? And he throws it over.
And then you run for
governor. I want to vote for that guy.
He's definitely got my vote right now.
Right.
I liked how he skirted that line though. Like he did interviews where they would try to press him on certain political issues, and he would be very good about being like, "No, I'm not going down that road." And
awesome.
Well, like Schwarzenegger too. Like you wait till the end of like you're in your 60s maybe, and then you do it. Like if you really want to make a difference, type of thing. But whatever. McConaughey.
2024.
Texas. McConaughey. Dylan Wheeler, all that great stuff. New music coming, dude. Awesome. If you're back in Colorado or you go to Chicago, and hopefully Wes moves out here soon. If you're in Colorado, we can hang out, have some Coors Banquets, Coors Lights, and shoot the shit.
Yeah,
like in the real,
and do a duck hunt.
Yeah, and shoot some birds.
Shoot something. Yeah, I'm down for sure. That is
right, dude. We had a great time with you, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate y'all thinking of me and asking me to hop on here.
No, absolutely. Yeah, tell the boys hello, and you guys be safe out there on the road.
Yes, sir. Y'all take it easy, man.
All right, you too. See you, Dylan.